In the world of ice and fire, politics are influenced by an ever-changing cast of houses, both high and low. New houses are founded, some rise to high prominence, some are completely snuffed out, and some are allowed to continue existing despite screwing up time and time again. Explain that one, old man. When trying to conduct a case study on just how quickly a house can be created, rise, fall, and die out, one need only look to the revolving door of lords who have ruled Harrenhal. Since its construction, Harrenhal has been held by 9 houses, as well as an interlude of other holders with dubious claims. Some lasted for generations, others only a year, but none were ever able to hold the castle for long, or return it to its peak, before the coming of Aegon the Conqueror and the burning by Balerion the Black Dread. While the idea of returning Harrenhal to its short-lived greatness is not impossible, it is an endeavor that would require a lot of work, a lot of labor, and a lot of coin. While great houses like Lannister or Tyrell might be able to bankroll such a construction project, Harrenhal has more often been used as a bargaining chip, given over to families of more humble means to buy loyalty with lands and titles, but never the actual power needed to truly make the ruined castle valuable. When all of your time and money is spent in basic upkeep, you don't have the resources to fortify your holdings, thus showing the true curse of Harrenhal. It makes you house poor. One such house to stumble into the Harrenhal trap, rising from more humble origins to the heights of infamy, is House Lothston. House Lothston's lordship over Harrenhal began in the year 151, during the reign of King Aegon III and his younger brother Prince Viserys Targaryen. After his son, Prince Aegon, the future King Aegon IV, the Unworthy, was found in bed with one Lyanna Stokeworth, quote, making him a man, when the boy was 14, Prince Viserys had her married off to Sir Lucas Lothston, then Master-at-Arms to the Red Keep. The Hand also convinced his older brother to gift Sir Lucas with Harrenhal in order to remove Lyanna Stokeworth from court. A sort of backroom deal that I imagine went down like this. Hey, Luke, marry my shitty son's side piece. Raise whatever bastard you might have got with her, and I'll make you a lord. Can I have a castle too? Oh, you can have the biggest castle. Styled now with his new house sigil, Sir Lucas became the first Batman of the fixer-upper Lothston Manor. Lyanna would give birth to a daughter, Jane Lothston, in 164. While Aegon the Unworthy never had any acknowledged children with the newly raised Lady of Harrenhal, that did not stop the rumor and gossip mills from stating that he was the girl's real father. In 172, Prince Aegon succeeded his father as King of Westeros. The former Hand's role as king having lasted only 1 year before dying of a not at all suspicious illness. 6 years later, Lyanna Stokeworth would bring her, and possibly the king's, then 14-year-old daughter Jane to court. Aegon would take the girl to be his mistress, number 8 of the 9 he claims to have truly loved, and named Lord Lucas as his hand of the king. It was said that the king would enjoy both mother and daughter together in the same bed. Less than a year after his promotion, though, Lord Lucas would be dismissed from his role as hand, and the entire Lothston family banned from court, after the king infected Lady Jane with a pox he had caught from one of the many sex workers he also patroned. After Lord Lucas's dismissal, we only get a few bits and fragments of House Lothston in the years going forward. A knight known as the Bastard of Harrenhal was defeated at the melee tournament at King's Landing in 193, falling to Sir Arlen a Pennytree, the man who would raise and knight Sir Duncan the Tall. Between the 190s and leading up to the Second Blackfire Rebellion in 212, House Lothston would gradually begin to earn a dark reputation. A second Lord Lucas, known as the Pander, and his son Manfred Lothston, better known as Manfred of the Black Hood, are remembered for their black deeds. Sir Illifer paid him no mind. A barefoot man looks for a boot, a chilly man a cloak, but who would cloak themselves in shame? Lord Lucas bore that bat, the pander, and Manfred of the Black Hood his son. Why wear such arms, I ask myself, unless your own sin is fouler still, and fresher. Following them, we next hear of one Manfred Lothston, whom Sir Eustace Osgrey claims betrayed Daemon Blackfyre during the first Blackfyre Rebellion. If Daemon had ridden over Gwaine Corbray, if Fireball had not been slain on the eve of battle, if Hightower and Tarbeck and Oakhart and Butterwell had led us their full strength, instead of trying to keep one foot in each camp, if Manfred Lothston had proved true instead of treacherous, if storms had not delayed Lord Bracken's sailing with the Mirish crossbowmen, if Quickfinger had not been caught with the stolen dragon's eggs. So many ifs, sir. Had anyone come out differently, it could have all turned the other way. Quite possibly the most famous, or infamous member of House Lothston was Lady Danelle, better known as Mad Danelle. Stories tell of her sending out giant bats to capture children for her cookpots, presiding over feasts of human flesh, bathing in blood and practicing dark arts, supposedly causing madness and chaos and the downfall of the Lothston line. In 212, when Lord Bloodraven shows up at White Walls to put down the second Blackfyre Rebellion, Mad Danny accompanies him with his host of Riverlords. And it is at this point that I wish for everyone to don their tinfoil hats, as I present to you a theory regarding Bloodraven, Mad Danelle, and the relationship they may have fostered, leading to her house's downfall. How many eyes does Bloodraven have? 1,000 eyes in one. So the famous line goes about the Hand of the King and Master of Whispers, Lord Brynden Rivers. During the Second Blackfyre Rebellion, House Veerwell is among the attendants of supporters. After the rebellion is put down, a man in service to Lord Veerwell claims to have been one of Bloodraven's spies, and promptly earns himself a throat slashing for the boast. The sigil of House Veerwell is a silver wyvern within a red double tresser on sable. When placed against Bloodraven's personal sigil, it parallels nicely with the hand's own white dragon, as if writ small. The presence of Lord and Lady Veerwell at the White Walls tourney, the weeping of Lady Veerwell by some unknown distress, and the boast from the man under their employ seemed to be an indication that the Veerwells were spies for Bloodraven. Going back to the first Blackfyre Rebellion, Sir Eustace Osgrey claims that Manfred Lothston betrayed Daemon Blackfyre, but I propose that that is an error in Osgrey's thinking. What if Manfred was never on Daemon's side to begin with, but was instead acting as a spy for Bloodraven during the first rebellion, just as Lord Veerwell seems to have been doing during the second? Bloodraven was Hand of the King for both Aerys I and Maekar, but he gained his start at court as the Master of Whispers. I propose that Bloodraven's first big role in politics was as the Master of Whispers for his older half-brother, King Daeron II, King Daeron the Good. King Daeron had done his best to do right by his many half-siblings, granting Daemon Blackfyre lands and holdings, and allowing him to keep the ancestral Targaryen sword Blackfyre, which their father had knighted him with. It seems likely that he may have done the same for Bloodraven, allowing him to keep the second ancestral sword of Dark Sister, and employing his talents where they would be useful. This would also make Bloodraven incredibly valuable to Daemon during the rebellion, another brother on his side, and one whose job it is to know all of the crown's secrets, a man on the inside seated on the small council. George R.R. Martin had said that the only thing worth writing about is the heart in conflict with itself. Bloodraven, upon learning what Bran had seen in his visions into the past, remarks, "I have my own ghost, Bran. A brother that I loved, a brother that I hated, a woman I desired. Through the trees I see them still, but no word of mine has ever reached them. The past remains the past. We can learn from it. but we cannot change it. The woman he desired was Shiera Seastar. The brother he hated was Bittersteel. I've long theorized that the brother he loved is Daemon Blackfyre, as it would make Bloodraven's decision to side against him, and the role he would play in Daemon's death all the more heart-wrenching. But if I am right in this belief, what good does any of that do for House Lothston? Well, the next bit of tinfoil lies in Mad Danelle, and the parallels she shares with another lady of Harrenhal, the Witch Queen, Alys Rivers. Before House Lothston was granted the rights to Harrenhal, it was last held by this supposed sorceress, bastard of House Strong, who had fostered a relationship with Prince Aemon Targaryen, Aemond One-Eye, during the Dance of the Dragons. While Aemon would perish, Alys would continue on, claiming to be carrying the prince's child, and holding Harrenhal in the immediate aftermath of the war. Mad Danelle, with all of her blood-bathing and black magic, becomes a second Witch Queen of Harrenhal figure, and her riding with Bloodraven forms another connection to Alys and Aemond. There, at the God's Eye Lake, bastard-born Witch Queen of Harrenhal figure rides with a one-eyed true-born Targaryen prince. And here at White Walls, a true-born Witch Queen of Harrenhal rides with a one-eyed bastard-born Targaryen. Given the nature of the underlying Game of Thrones, this real politic in the time of Blackfyre rebellions, it's a pairing Manfred Lothston may have seen value in. The Lothstons had been dismissed from court by Aegon IV, but after the cleanup done by Daeron the Good, they now had a chance to ingratiate themselves with this new king, having not been tainted as much as the other sycophants and lickspittles that had plagued the unworthy's court. And in a time of open rebellion, fostering relations with the king's bastard siblings would have also been prudent. Enough so that Manfred Lothston may have sided with Bloodraven, in the hopes that this younger royal bastard may be more keen on having Danelle as a companion. It would be far from the first time that a house tried to scheme their way back into power with a royal coupling, even if it were to be with a royal bastard. Danelle's dabbling in the dark arts may have also been a factor. While Bloodraven desired his sister Shiera Seastar, herself renowned as a sorceress, her teasing and unwillingness to marry him may have also played into Bloodraven's political ambitions. There are theories in regard to Shiera, her relationship with Bloodraven, her possible whereabouts in our current story, potentially the identity of Quaithe, or as a possible mother of Melisandre. While I myself am not a fan of the Shiera Seastar Bloodraven parentage to the Red Priestess, I do see another possibility of Melisandre being related to Bloodraven through Mad Danelle. While Bloodraven pined for Shiera's hand, she took on many lovers. Bloodraven may have done the same, satiating his lust elsewhere with another woman of similar interests, a red-headed Witch Queen of Harrenhal figure, just as Aemon One-Eye had done with Alys Rivers. What if such a coupling did occur? Could Bloodraven have fathered a child onto another? If the parallel between Danelle and Alys Rivers is to continue, then being impregnated by a one-eyed Targaryen would also be a factor. And while genetics in A Song of Ice and Fire have always been weird, if Melisandre was fathered by Bloodraven, wouldn't having a red-headed mother make more sense for her appearance than another silver-haired Targaryen? Having a second sorceress on Bloodraven's side would also be crucial given Shiera Seastar's fickleness. In The Mystery Knight, a Septon preaching against Bloodraven states the following: "His hands are scarlet with a brother's blood, and the blood of his young nephews too. A shadow came at his command, to strangle brave Prince Valar's son in their mother's womb. Where is our young prince now? Where is his brother sweet Mataris? Where has good King Daeron gone, and fearless Baelor Breakspear? The grave has claimed them, every one, yet he endures, this pale bird with bloody beak, who perches on King Aerys' shoulder and calls into his ear. The mark of hell is on his face, and in his empty eye he has brought us drought and pestilence and murder. The idea of shadows assassinating political obstacles for dark ruling figures is another thing that happens a few times within the story. Melisandre conjures a shadow to kill Renly for Stannis. Alys Rivers, naming herself the widow of Aemon Targaryen, and presenting a boy she claims is the late prince's son, has Kingsguard member Sir Regis Graves abruptly killed after he insults her, supposedly using magic to crush his skull. Another incident happens when a man carrying a message from the Witch Queen states that if anyone laughs after he delivers it, he will die. After quoting her claim to have a dragon at Harrenhal being laughed at by an onlooker, the man is seemingly strangled to death, with some saying the imprints of a woman's fingers appeared on his throat. It is notable that in order for Egg and his descendants to take the throne, the line that would supposedly lead to the prince that was promised, a lot of other Targaryens had to die first. This pruning of the Targaryen family tree had to start somewhere. Is the death of Prince Valar's son in the womb an unfortunate miscarriage? Or could there be a more sinister element, as the preacher implies? If so, who could the culprit be? If not Bloodraven himself, perhaps someone who also has access to dark arts such as shadow binding. Shiera Seastar maybe if she were the type, or perhaps another sorceress from a family of dark repute. While the exact details of House Lothston's extinction remain unknown, what is certain is that they fell during the reign of King Maekar, putting it somewhere between the years 221 to 233. Ben Blackthumb, a smith at Harrenhal, worked for the first Lord Went and the last Lord Lothston, while Sir Illafer the Penniless claims the following: "My grandfather's grandfather helped kill the last of Lothston. None since has dared to show that bat, black as the deeds of them that bore it." Whether this last Lord Lothston is a husband of Mad Danelle, brother, or a son is left unclear. By 233, however, House Lothston is presumably extinct. Harrenhal has passed to the newly made House Went, former household knights of the Lothstons who take as their own sigil 9 black bats on a yellow field. It is through House Went that Catelyn Stark descends, linking both the Tullys and the Stark children to Harrenhal. As for Melisandre, she remembers being sold as a slave during her childhood when she was known as Melanie. The idea that a man like Bloodraven would allow a child of his and Shiera to wind up in a situation like that has never sat well with me. But if Melisandre is the daughter of a woman whose house just fell, one who may have been trying to flee Westeros in the aftermath and ended up in Essos, then the idea of such a child being sold into slavery becomes more of a possibility. The infamy of House Lothston still resounds throughout Westeros. Stories of Mad Danelle and the black deeds of her forebears have moved out from the Riverlands, to the point where Jaime Lannister can remember hearing horror stories about them as a child at Casterly Rock. Across the Narrow Sea, one Jon Lothston serves in the Golden Company. It should be noted, however, a man among the Free Companies is allowed to name himself whatever he chooses, so it remains unknown if he's a true member of House Lothston, or someone claiming the infamous name, possibly as a means of staking a claim, just as other Golden Company members claim the names of other extinct houses. Or perhaps another link to the black deeds of House Lothston exists elsewhere. One who has been to Asshai, and who is now residing at another, colder hinge of the world. A third Witch Queen figure, who works with fire and shadow and terror, just as Alys and Danelle did before. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on House Lothston. Comment below and tell me what you think of this theory, and some of your own ideas regarding Harrenhal. To see more content like this, Consider liking and subscribing to the channel, following me on Twitter at The Grey Waste. I'll be back with more theories and more stories. In the meantime, support your local library.